All right, welcome back to the paint shop. We've talked in the past about some of the changes we're going to be making in the paint shop. So I want to go through a couple of those. I'm excited because as we can see over here, we've got some crates here. So we've talked in the past how we're adding some 2K systems. We're going to have 3 circuits on our Makor paint line, and all 3 circuits are going to be used. Typically on a 2K system, you use 1 circuit, all the product runs through a single 2K mixer. We're going to have 3 2K mixers on this pump, so we'll be able to, or on this machine, so we'll be able to have 9 colors at a time. So as we look over here, and we can see we've uncrated one of the pumps. We've chosen to go with Kremlin this go around. The old pumps are Dur, which we'll use in our hand booth, but we've got 9 of these big Kremlin pumps that are coming in, and we've gone with the Kremlin Cyclomix for the 2K system. So we're excited to have that coming.
2K? Like,
so it's 2 parts. So with conversion varnish, you're mixing a catalyst and the product. And so that system basically takes the catalyst, mixes it into the paint, kind of on the fly as it goes, and you're able to get a perfect mix, and so that your product is drying properly. You're not having to hand mix it, and you're not wasting by mixing too much product. So it's basically an automatic mixer. So we'll show you here too. This is going to start happening. This is all going to be part of the same video, but the Makor's right here. We're actually going to be moving it clear down. The end of the Makor's going to be clear down here. So we're moving it about 15 feet. And all the pumps are going to go along this back wall. So stay tuned over the next few days. We're going to be starting to do that. We'll be moving the system. Obviously, we'll clip it all into the same video so you guys don't have to watch it for 2 weeks like we'll be doing. But it'll be fun to see it come, make it happen, and really be able to increase the efficiency of our paint shop by doing it. Because now, instead of painting, the small colors by hand, everything will run through the machine. And the nice thing with that is you have consistent mill build. The colors are always consistent that way, and we really can go fast because we're able to switch just with basically the spin of a knob and a small 10-second flush cycle. So anyway, we're really excited to see this come together.
So the Makor is going to move down.
Correct.
So right now you have a measuring table to make sure doors and stuff are right. Where's that going to go?
So that's going to be part of the new shop move with the CNC. So Larry is actually going to move right outside the CNC or the paint shop door to do painted parts, and the table is going to be sitting over by Larry once it moves.
So they'll be measured before they're painted.
Correct.
And then we did a video recently on the shoebox. Thanks again, Mark. Mark's his name. Thanks again, Mark, for helping us with that. You're moving this and extending it.
Correct. Yep. So the shoebox is moving about 20 feet. It's going to be clear back here, scooted over a little bit, tightening things up a little bit, and we're extending it 16 feet. So we're doubling the size of it. The shoebox is scheduled to install in about 5 weeks. So that'll be a separate video, but yeah.
So is the idea that it can come off of paint and to go into the shoebox on the back end?
Yep.
And kind of flow?
We'll have 18 feet from the conveyor to the wall, and we'll have 24 feet from the wall to the shoebox, giving enough room to open the door and have a little bit of flash area. So this back area, basically from here back is going to be flash. So everything will come off the paint line. It'll flash for about 5 minutes and go straight into the shoebox. Once it goes through the shoebox to the end, it'll be dry, and that'll be lined up with the Makor on the infeed side, and it'll go right back into the Makor to be sprayed again.
What do you mean by flash? Because to me, flash, it doesn't make sense to me.
It's not photography, right? It's not a light. No. So flashing just means that basically it dries for a minute before it goes in. You want it to dry for about 5 minutes before you put it in to the shoebox to really cure.
So basically like a 5-minute natural dry time.
Yep.
But it's just called flashing.
Yep.
Okay.
I wish I knew the technical term. I'm sure somebody does. Somebody comment if you know. But
so are there any other changes that are going to happen with the rest? Like you've got 2 hand booths, and then down there just looks like pending.
Yeah. So the hand booths are going to stay there for now. We do have the Heisman sander. We are going to butt the Heisman sander right up to the conveyor. So we'll be able to sand and go straight into the Makor.
So will it go straight from the sander right onto the belt? Or will
It will. And I think some people might think we're crazy, but the nice thing is when we do need to sand, it'll just sand and be done. And when we don't, the Heisman does an amazing job at cleaning panels. Right now, when we're feeding stuff into the Makor, we're grabbing the gun, we're blowing them off, wiping them, making sure they're good. Well, coming out of the Heisman, they're clean. They have these little air spinners that spin around and blow things off, and everything comes out clean. So no longer will we be blowing dust up into the environment in here. It'll all be clean and go into the dust collector through the Heisman.
So you can run it through the sander without actually sanding it.
We can. Yep. So sometimes we'll sand and sometimes we'll run it through just for a cleaning cycle.
Okay. Well, this is a look. So next progress is going to be when?
We'll start making some progress next week.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, for you guys, it'll be right now.
All right, guys, it's moving day. We've already got the conveyor moved. We're working on the rest of it, so we'll get some shots as we go along. The Kremlin stuff is just about ready to go. So hopefully in the next day or so, which will be a few seconds for you guys, things will be rocking and rolling. So anyway, just a quick update as we progress. All right, still moving. Don't be afraid to move. All right, guys, here's the new setup. So we're sending through the sander, cut out a ton of wasted motion, put the sander really close, right on the paint line, out the back. So super lean, way better than it used to be. We used to sand quite a ways away from the machine. Now we just go right in. All right, for us it's been a couple more days. For you it's been a few seconds, but we're back. We want to show you the mess, where we're at with things. So we're in a big mess. We've been trying to produce product while we've been moving the machine, but the machine is moved. We've got it fired up. Everything's working, so we're really happy about that. So we finished. It's Saturday today. We thought we'd record a quick video, but we finished everything last night, about 5 o'clock with the technician, getting it all done. But come over and see the full new setup here. So we've got our Kremlin pumps. We've got our 3 Cyclomixes up on the top. We've made them really tight with our wall here that we've designed. It made it really easy. The technician really loved doing this. In fact, I got a call from the company we bought these pumps from, asking us if we would make this board for them for the next install, because the way they did it before takes so much longer. So anyway, so we've got it all done. We've got our catchers here for our paint on the bottom. We've got a couple products loaded that we were testing last night. So everything's ready to go. So Monday morning we're going to load all the pumps up and get going. When you look at the Makor over here, you can see the controllers. So most of the time when people put these Cyclomixes in, they just have a single controller. We've done 3. So let me show you how the process works. So we won't go into crazy detail on this one, but basically we have our Cyclomix that will load here. So F1 is spraying 1, that's pump 1 that we're going to be spraying out of. Then we would come over here to our machine. Each of the Cyclomixes are associated with a circuit on the machine itself. So if you come in here, you'll see we have a dial up here on the head. So we have L, that's where our lacquer thinner is. Then we have 1, 2, 3. So each of those Cyclomix controllers coincide with one of these numbers. So we can just take it, put it at 1, and then that means the top controller and the first 3 pumps of paint are going to be going. So one of the things, I'm really bummed because this week My buddy Joe Sylvie from Superior Woodworking was here. We recorded a little video I was hoping to release on the channel, and unfortunately our microphones didn't work, so it was pretty loud in here. People were spraying, we had music going, and you really couldn't even hear us, so that was a little bit of a bummer. We were excited about that, but one of the things we talked about is, a lot of times in lean people talk about using your heads, not your wallet, you know, and so I think sometimes, Joe and I were talking how sometimes people say, well, lean means you can't spend any money. And one of the things that we talked about is like, well, lean leads to being able to have a little more free cash flow, to be able to do things, to be able to buy equipment, that in turn will help you be more efficient in your business. And so yeah, did we spend a little bit of money on these 3 Cyclomixes? Yes. But I think conservatively we'll double our production out of the paint room because of it. So then the flow will start. And we talked before about the Heisman sander, and we were going to butt it straight up to the conveyor. Sometimes plans change. We looked at 2 things. Number one, when I was talking to my paint shop manager, a lot of times we have to sand one side, then run it back through on the other side, and then we can put it into the paint line. And so he didn't want to have to lean over the conveyor to grab those and spin them. So he wanted a little bit of space in between. We ended up putting a little bit more because when we got things all said and done, we added this pipe. We didn't want to cut a new hole in our roof, so we just extended this pipe. Well, if the sander was any closer, we can't get the doors open on it. So we changed our plans a little bit, but we actually really like the way it came together. So the Heisman won't be up for a few days. I've got a new dust collector coming next week that'll just go to it only. So that'll be nice. It'll be on its own with no other machinery. But starting Monday morning, we're going to be running all our colors, all our flat stuff through the flat line. Doesn't matter if the job has 1 color or 9 colors. We'll have them loaded in the machine. So we're excited. So don't be afraid to move. Don't be afraid to make things better. The flow is going to be awesome. In a couple weeks, we're going to be moving the shoebox and doubling the size of the shoebox. So that will make our flow even better. And on Monday, we'll get all this cleaned out. But already, the guys, once we moved all this stuff and they saw how much room was down there, we'll be able to have our jobs staged a little easier, especially ones that have a whole bunch of colors. A little more room for that. It should make us a lot more efficient. So anyway, so we felt like having too much space in certain areas in our paint shop was kind of our enemy, and so we're really excited for this new setup.
So with the new setup, were there any gotchas that happened or things besides like the Heisman and like running the pipe? Were there any other things that caused problems that like you guys had to figure out on the fly, or that could maybe be shared with people if they're doing something similar of a problem that may have come up? That, like, didn't you have a problem with like lines or something?
Well, we knew when we put this in that we were going to add new lines, basically replumb the inside of the Makor, which we did. So that wasn't a surprise. But one of the other things that actually reminds me, one of the things, don't be afraid to change things on your machinery. When I first started buying this machinery that was kind of expensive, I was afraid to even put a screw in it or drill a hole somewhere. And if you look over here where the lines come out, so there's a hole down in the bottom of this panel, and the lines, they feed from the top of the machine, they come over and they went down to this hole, and then they came back up and went to all of the pumps before. And we got looking at it, and we're like, well, that seems like a huge waste. And so we actually took our hoses to a place. We had them put new fittings on them. We cut 15 feet of length off of our hose, which 15 feet of length, the hoses that came for the machine were 45 feet long. We cut them down to 30. So that's a lot of fluid that we have to flush through, that we got rid of, that we don't have to do anymore. So anyway, don't be afraid to make tweaks, because what we did, we cut that 15 feet off, and we drilled a hole in the side of the machine, and we just fed them straight out instead of having loop around and have that extra cord. So don't be afraid to make changes.
And did you screw this board directly into the machine?
We sure did. It works good. You know, we were trying to figure out, and we're not done with this. This is going to look better and better over time. And actually, after using the first Cyclomix a little bit yesterday, we actually are going to move the controls. And so we did this so that the controls are really flexible. We can just take them and move them. But we're actually going to take them from here. We're going to put them on the wall over here where these other pumps are. But they're in the way right now, and so we can't do that. And so we put this board on so we can be flexible. And so we've got it all over our shop. We're putting up more and more sheets of it, but it makes it so we can have flexibility. So, but we screwed it right in.
Sweet.
So, anyway, if you have any questions about what we did, why we're doing it, leave a question in the comment below. We're happy to look, to answer those comments, those questions. But don't be afraid to change your flow. Don't be afraid to make it better. And if it makes sense, don't be afraid to spend a little bit of money. We figure this system will pay for itself, in less than a year. So that to me is an investment well worth it. So anyway, we're excited. We'll let you guys know how it goes. Once the shoebox is moved, we'll take a picture of the flow and how it works and how much tighter it is and how much better. So anyway, if there's any questions, leave them below. Otherwise, have a great one.